A little girl collapsed at the hospital doors. What this single dad didn't know will break you. The automatic glass doors of the hospital slid open just as the little girl's legs gave out. She crumpled to the cold floor, her small hands slipping from her father's grasp. For one terrifying second, the world seemed to stop breathing with him, but he didn't know it yet. But what happened in the next few hours would change his life forever and reveal how one moment of kindness can echo far beyond what any of us imagine. Before we begin, if stories like this move your heart, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Kindness Story Hub, a place where real human moments remind us that kindness still matters. Ethan Miller had not slept in almost 2 days. As a single dad, exhaustion was nothing new, but this was different. This was the kind of tired that settles deep in your bones, the kind that comes from fear. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had been sick for weeks. It started as a cough, then fevers that came and went, then dizziness that scared them both. Doctors said it was probably viral. Give it time, they said, but time was the one thing Ethan felt they didn't have that morning. Lily had tried to get out of bed and collapsed. She smiled at him through pale lips and whispered, "Daddy, I'm okay." But Ethan saw the truth in her eyes. He wrapped her in her favorite pink jacket, grabbed his keys, and drove faster than he ever had in his life. They barely made it to the hospital doors when Lily fell. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her, his heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. "Help," he shouted, his voice cracking. "Please, someone help my daughter." Within seconds, nurses rushed over with a stretcher. A doctor knelt down, checking Lily's pulse, asking Ethan questions he could barely process. They wheeled her away, and Ethan was left standing alone in the lobby, his arms empty, his hands shaking. He followed them to the waiting area but was told to stay back. So he Saturday and waited. Minutes stretched into hours. The hum of hospital machines, the distant beeping, the murmured conversations, it all blended into a dull noise that made his chest ache. Ethan buried his face in his hands. He blamed himself for not pushing harder with doctors, for not having better insurance, for not being able to give Lily the kind of life where getting sick didn't feel like a death sentence. A woman across the room noticed him. She was older, maybe in her late 60s, wearing a simple blue sweater. She watched Ethan quietly for a long time before standing up and walking over. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat beside him and gently placed a small packet of tissues in his hand. "Hospital floors are cold," she said softly. "But you don't have to sit through it alone." Ethan looked at her, surprised. His eyes were red, his face worn. "Thank you," he whispered. That was all he could manage. She introduced herself as Margaret. She told him she was there visiting her husband, who had been in and out of hospitals for years. "I've learned something," she said. "Waiting is the hardest part. Kind words help more than medicine sometimes." They sat together in silence after that. A little later, a nurse came out and called Ethan's name. His heart jumped into his throat as he rushed forward. The nurse explained that Lily was stable but needed more tests. They suspected a rare heart condition, one that often goes unnoticed until it becomes dangerous. Ethan's legs felt weak. "Can you fix it?" he asked. "We'll do everything we can," the nurse replied honestly. Back in the waiting room, Ethan stared at the wall. A rare condition meant expensive tests, specialists, time off work he didn't have, bills he couldn't pay. He worked 2 jobs already, warehouse shifts at night and deliveries during the day. Lily's mom had passed away years ago, leaving him to figure out life on his own. Margaret returned with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Ethan like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I wanted to," she replied. "Let someone take care of you for a minute." Later that evening, a doctor explained that Lily would need surgery soon. Without it, her heart could fail. The words felt like knives. Ethan nodded, asking questions, signing papers, feeling like he was watching someone else's life unfold. When the doctor left, Ethan broke down. "I don't know how I'm going to do this," he said to Margaret, his voice barely audible. "I can't lose her. She's all I have." Margaret reached into her purse and pulled out a small notebook. She tore out a page and wrote something down, then folded it and placed it in Ethan's hand. "Read this later," she said. "When you feel like you can't breathe." That night, Ethan slept in a chair beside Lily's bed. Machines beeped softly around her. She looked so small under the blankets. He held her hand, afraid to let go, afraid that if he closed his eyes, something would happen the next morning. Before surgery, Lily woke up and smiled weakly. "Daddy," she whispered, "will you be here when I wake up?" "Always," he said, choking back tears. "I promise." The surgery took 6 hours. 6 of the longest hours of Ethan's life. He paced. He prayed. He stared at his phone, not knowing who to call. Margaret came and went, checking on him, bringing food, sitting with him when the fear grew too loud. Finally, the surgeon appeared. The surgery was successful. Ethan collapsed into a chair, sobbing with relief. Days passed as Lily recovered. Hospital bills started piling up on the small table in the room. Ethan tried not to look at them. He focused on Lily's laugh returning, on the color slowly coming back to her cheeks. One afternoon, a hospital administrator knocked on the door. Ethan braced himself for bad news. Instead, she smiled. She explained that an anonymous donor had covered a large portion of Lily's medical expenses. Surgery, hospital stay, follow-up care, paid. Ethan was speechless. "Who?" he asked. The administrator shook her head. "They asked to remain anonymous. All they said was that they saw a father who loved his daughter, and they wanted to help." Ethan's mind went straight to Margaret, but when he went to find her, she was gone. At discharge, Ethan remembered the note Margaret had given him. He unfolded it slowly. Inside, written in careful handwriting, were these words: "Years ago, I stood where you are now. Someone showed me kindness when I had nothing left. I promised myself I would pass it on whenever I could. One day, you will too." At the bottom was a simple message: "You are not alone." Weeks later, back at home, Lily ran through the small apartment, laughing, her strength returning more every day. Ethan watched her with a full heart. He didn't know what the future held. Money was still tight. Life was still hard. But something had shifted inside him. He started small. He helped a struggling co-worker with groceries. He volunteered one afternoon a month at the hospital. He sat with strangers who looked like they needed someone, because now he understood something he hadn't before: kindness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's just a seat beside you in a waiting room. A cup of coffee. A hand on your shoulder when your world feels like it's falling apart, and sometimes, that kindness saves more than a life. It saves hope. So if you're watching this and wondering whether your small act matters, remember Ethan. Remember Lily. Remember Margaret. You never know whose life you're touching, or how far your kindness will travel, and maybe today, you'll be the reason someone believes in goodness again.